wanted to go ahead and do that video I talked about before about coming out to Mom. I did that almost 2 years ago. I remember the day exactly. It was September 4th, 2006 that it happened. I didn't really plan on doing it then. What happened was she goes to work at like 5 something in the morning. She'd just be there like 6, and at the time she was using my old Windows 98 computer, my previous, before my old XP computer, and her computer became unresponsive, so she wanted to find out, and she was reading about something on the internet, so she wanted to find out what it was, and she came in my room to get on my computer, and on my computer background, at the time I had a really big crush on a really hot guy on MySpace, and I made a collage of him and I made it my desktop background, and real smart. Yeah, she came in here and used it, quite naturally she saw the background. And I remember her saying, she came in, asked me why would I have a guy on my computer background. She said something about, it's a really nice background or something like that. I can't remember. I grabbed my comforter and my pillow, I was just like bracing for some kind of massive impact. I just knew, like, God, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be horrible. And at the time, she was working 12-hour shifts, and she wasn't going to be home till like 7 o'clock that evening, which, to me, I was relieved that I wouldn't have to face her before then. And she gets home that evening, and something else, she was pissed off at me about something else, I can't remember precisely what it was. Anyway, she started on me about that a little bit, and I got on my bike, and I took off, and it was getting dark outside, naturally, because at that time it was starting to get darker. It would have been today, and on my bike ride, I don't know, I guess it's gone for about maybe half an hour or an hour, something like that. I really took my time, and when I got back home, I was really quiet coming up our driveway, and I come up in the yard, because our driveway is gravel, and park my bike real quietly on the sidewalk, and I grabbed one of our lawn chairs and I went around the back of the house and where my baby chickens at that time were, and I sat out there for probably another hour, maybe 2 hours. I don't remember precisely how long it was. Well, it was right about an hour, because it was about 9:30 or 10, something like that. So it might have been longer, I can't remember. Anyway, I came back around the front of the house because I was going to try to sneak in the house and get in my and I go to bed, as I was. And when I come around the front of the house, I peeked around the front, I had a chair, and Mom was sitting on a chair on our front deck. There wasn't no way I could have got in the house without her seeing me, obviously, because she was right there at the gate where you go in the thing. And she chewed me out, but I said before, she was pissed off at me about something. I can't remember exactly what it was. She chewed me out, and then after that, she asked me, she said, oh, and by the way, is there something we need to talk about? And I looked and was like, oh, what? What do you mean? And then she told me, she said, about that picture in your desktop, and I said, I delayed for probably a couple of minutes, and I said it was somebody I had talked to on the computer, and I looked down, and I was like, horrified. I was like, well, I wonder where I'm going to go, and stuff like that. And then I told her, I said, well, I was real slow and careful with my words. I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to tell you what I've known for a while. And before I could even go any further, she said, Christopher, I know that you're gay. And that's what she said. She said, just like that, like she's talking about the weather or something. And I was like, how do you know? I was like, wow, I was stunned. But she said she's always known about it. Always known I'm gay, I guess. I don't know how. I really don't know how. She said my grandmother knew, one that I lost 3 years ago. She said she knew and was fine with it. And I was most worried about her reaction because I was very, very, very close to my grandmother. And when I first realized I was gay, I was probably 13, something like that. I think it was 13. I didn't actually acknowledge it until I was 16. I really started talking about it, on the internet, on MySpace, stuff like that. When I was 17. It was in 2006, and I just like I said, I started by my grandmother's reaction. My mom was unusual. To me, it was unusual for her to be like that about anything, because me and her never really talked about anything. But my mother was very accepting of me. I'm very, very thankful and glad that she was accepting, because I've heard so many things online that so many people haven't had such good reactions from their mother or her parents. And I'm afraid I'd be one of those cases. But, yeah, I realized probably around the time that most other boys start realizing they're attracted to girls, and, you know, instead, I was interested in other boys. I would notice them, and I wasn't in public school like most others. I was homeschooled from the 4th grade to the 12th grade, so I didn't go through a lot of what other guys go through. But it was around that same time, though, when, like, we would go out somewhere, for example, I would see guys, and I would notice, and the way I felt, I was confused, I was scared. It was very, very, very difficult for me to deal with it. I felt very, very, let's see, I don't know how to even put it. I felt angry, I felt depressed, I felt sad about it. There's some points that I felt like being dead would be better than being gay. That's how I felt about it at the time. I hated myself. I hated what I was. I could not deal with it. And by the time when I finally acknowledged that I was gay when I was 16, I finally acknowledged it then. That was the year my grandmother died. Somehow I finally mustered up the strength to deal with that. And I was like, well, nobody else is going to know except for me. That's how I was at that time. I never intended on coming out to my mother. I never planned on any of it. I never got to tell my grandmother, which I never planned on telling her. And, yeah, that's how a lot of that went. But it become more obvious. The older I've gotten, the more obvious it's gotten. And I don't really talk openly with it. I don't really talk about it with Mom, because I don't feel comfortable about it talking with her, so I don't really. I wish I could, but I really don't know how to do it. And I really didn't have to worry about an issue with friends, because I really don't have any here where I'm at. I mean, I do have one, but he's not in this part of the state. He's in the northwest part of the state. It's about a 4-hour drive away. Excuse me. But I didn't really have to deal with that. I mean, the one I'm talking about from the northwest part of the state, I met him through a website on the internet, and we've become really good friends. Met him a few times. I drove up there 3 times, I think it was. Met him, hung out. That was pretty awesome. And, yeah, so I haven't really had to tell anyone else. I don't plan on coming out at all to anybody. I'm not comfortable enough to do it. I mean, I'm okay with being gay myself, but I don't want to tell anybody else. It's just so, I feel uncomfortable about that part. I haven't had any really serious relationship, because I don't, like I said, I don't know anybody else. And I've done a few things with a friend, but it wasn't much. And, yeah, I've been wanting a boyfriend for several years now. It hasn't happened. I don't know when it's going to happen. The area I live in is in southwest Arkansas. It's a very, very rural area. There's nothing here, and I don't see meeting someone here likely. And Mom planned on moving from here. I'm hoping wherever we ended up moving, whenever it happens, that it'll be more open, and I'll have a better chance of making those friendships that I wanted. Possibly go further than that with somebody, hopefully.